Hey everyone, Brienne here with my BA mentor, and today I want to talk about kind of when I really knew that I wanted to be a BCBA and how that came about for me. So like and subscribe to our channel so you can learn more about my journey and how it may help you. So how I came to the decision that BCBA was, what I wanted to do, my calling in life to help these families. And it really started way back in the kind of beginning of my early time working with kids with special needs. And I didn't really know that I actually wanted to be a BCBA until much later. And so my first experience when I knew that I wanted to work with kids with special needs was actually I had to go halfway across the world to discover this because at that time I was in school for psychology. I had just transitioned over, moving to Hawaii and going to Hawaii Pacific University. And I had this opportunity come to me from a couple of my friends back home to do a volunteer trip to Uganda. And at that time, I was like, wow, that sounds amazing. I was like, I would love to go. I've never been out of the country. I'm 20 years old. That would just be an amazing experience. And so I decided, I was like, okay, I'm going to try and go. And I had to raise several $1,000s to be able to go. And so I started, asking friends and family for donations. And I did this big fundraiser at a restaurant where, it's like one of those things where people buy and then a percentage goes towards your fundraiser. And so I fundraised for about 6 months, and then the deadline, was approaching for me to submit all of the money, and I ended up not raising enough money to go. And so I was short about $2,000. And I remember just being completely devastated and that I wasn't going to be able to go, and they were all booking their flights and this and that, and I was like, well, unfortunately I won't be able to do it. I didn't raise enough money, so I ended up donating all of my money back to the organization that was going. And after crying about it and being really upset that I wasn't able to go, about 2 weeks later I got a phone call from the woman who was directing the trip, and she was like, hey, we actually had someone back out of being able to go, and we already submitted all the funds and everything, and do you want to go? And we'll use that person's funds to cover what you were not able to fundraise. And I was like, oh my gosh, this is amazing. Like, how does this even happen? So I was like, yes, of course I want to go. And so I was able to go on the trip, and we were in Lugazi, Uganda for 2 weeks, and between Uganda and Kenya. And when we got there, our job really was to go to visit various orphanages and volunteer in their schools. And then we also went around to some projects that this organization was essentially sponsoring. So some farming things, some other programs that they were responsible for. And it was absolutely amazing. Like, there are a few times in life where it's like you have an experience and it literally changes the course of what you are doing, and this happened to be one for me. I ended up going out and we visited the largest slum in Uganda. And if I don't know if anybody's has ever been there, or if you have potentially seen, pictures online, but what you see is real, and it is unimaginable. Like, you can't even like comprehend the places that people are living and working and in these areas. And I'll actually was thinking about, I will post some of the pictures of where I was at the end of this video, so you can kind of get a sense for what this place was. But essentially, we went out to the slums and we visited these medical sites where they were caring for kids with special needs. And what I learned was that when a special need child is born into the villages, and again, these are like remote villages, right? This is not like city. These are remote villages. They are essentially exiled from their village. And so the children with special needs, like any special need really, are sent away, and a lot of times they don't make it. They literally die because they are not provided the same level of care as children without special needs. And sometimes that means, the whole family eats and this child doesn't eat because there's not enough food to feed the child with special needs. So, it's extremely heartbreaking. And I spent a lot of time, crying over it because I just couldn't imagine that. But essentially there was, one little boy, and his name was Timothy, and he was the cutest thing ever. And I think he was about 8 years old, and he had cerebral palsy, and he was also blind. And I'm not sure that I've ever met a more happy person in my entire life. And here he is, he's unable to walk because he has cerebral palsy from really he wasn't able to walk from the hips down. And so he's sitting in the dirt in the biggest slum of Uganda, and with the biggest smile on his face that you could ever imagine. And I hope that I can find his picture, because I took a picture of his sweet little face, and I will post it in this video at the end. But we talked to him, and we asked him if there's something that you could have, what would it be? And his response was that he just wished that God would open his eyes. And I mean, talk about crying central. We were just oh my gosh, this is so impactful and so touching. And I think about him often because we were able to go visit several people, and when you experience something like that, it really opens your eyes to the reality of the world. And that our world, even though it's so big, here is so small compared to every person and all of their experiences. And so when we left, I was I know that I am supposed to help these kids, and specifically with kids with special needs. And my initial thought was I want to start a program in Africa and in Uganda, where these places where these kids can't access care. And at this time I was only 20 years old, and so I was dream big, which is still on my dream list. But when I left there, and I was just praying and meditating about where am I supposed to go? What am I supposed to do with this? And really was no, yes, that is, a potential long time career future. But really, what can I do here? What can I do to help the kids that don't have access to high quality care here in our own backyard? And there are still so many kids, just, in our rural areas that don't have access to ABA and don't have access to these resources. And, when I made the trip back, I was like, wow, like this is really something that, I want to do. And then when I continued my education, if you watch a previous video about kind of the path of my education, that took me into special education first, and then circled me back around to becoming a BCBA, which my experience in the classroom is a whole nother story that I will eventually talk about, that brought me to becoming a BCBA. But I was searching for where I could be the most impactful and where I could make the most significant change for the kids who really need it, and who not a lot of people want to dedicate their time and energy in helping. And I will be forever grateful for Timothy, the blind little boy in the slums of Uganda, because how crazy to think that that would shape someone's life path so much, and has put me on a trajectory of helping, turning around and helping hundreds of families through the ABA field over the last, I don't even know, 15 years, however long I've been doing this. And what an amazing purpose when you really think about his story, and how many lives he has touched, and the ripple effect of that. And so that's my story for today, and part of my journey. So hope you enjoyed. Again, like and subscribe to hear more, and I will edit this video and drop the photos in here if you've made it this long and watching, and you can see where I was and the kiddos that we worked with. So have a great day.